Hey folks, David here, TexasHornsFans.com. So Texas moves to 1-0 after a 59-3 throttling over the Mighty Miners of El Paso, UTEP. So we're going to dive into the game here on this video, look at some surprises, maybe some disappointments, and how we should feel about what we saw Saturday. Definitely don't forget to leave your comments below, and also don't forget to subscribe. All right, so overall, I kind of expected a slow, maybe a sluggish, sloppy start to the game, but that's not what happened at all. Obviously, Texas gets the ball. Sam hits Josh Moore on a 78-yard touchdown, first play of the game. Interesting play because it was kind of one of those plays where it was kind of all or nothing to Josh. And then you had Jordan Whittington kind of going underneath as really the only outlet receiver there in the flat. Tariq Black actually ended up blocking on that play, so it was kind of one of those all or nothing plays that Josh Moore just basically kind of ran a quick slant on the inside and took it to the house, which that was really cool to see. Not only how they attacked with that play from the get-go, but just the fact that it was cool to see Josh Moore start his season that way. You know, he's had some troubles, but he's getting one of the starting spots at one of the outside receivers, which is cool to see. And I think overall, what we really saw from Josh Moore and from Tariq Black starting at the outside spots was two guys who are fast route runners. And I really think those are the two main reasons why they're starting at the outside spots over like Brennan Eagles, right? Speaking of Eagles, most of the time when he was in, to me, just looked really unprepared. Maybe his head wasn't in the game. Maybe maybe he was kind of pissed off about not getting one of the starting jobs, whatever. But two clear miscommunications between him and Sam on a couple of pass plays, and then another play where he just kind of looked physically out of place on one of the pass plays. He did get a touchdown, so he did get time in the game. Sticking with the wide receivers, Jordan Whittington obviously started over Jake Smith, who was hurt. So when Whittington did get the ball, he looked really good. Big gains. He didn't touch the ball a whole lot, but big gains. He had that big run on that kind of end around where he got tackled at like the 1 yard line that set up Roschon Johnson's 1 yard run, but thought he looked really good in the slot. He did hurt his knee in the game. It was announced today at Tom Herman's press conference that Whittington is scheduled to be out 3 to 4 weeks. Has to have minor surgery on the meniscus, I think. But good news is Texas doesn't play next week. There's a bye between now and the Texas Tech game, so that's one of those 3 to 4 weeks. Putting it on the schedule, he could be back for the Oklahoma game. So we'll see. So hopefully that H wide receiver spot gets healthy. Jake Smith with a hurt hamstring. He should be back by Texas Tech, though, unless he gets injured in practice more. And then Jordan Whittington out 3 to 4 weeks, which sucks for him. So hopefully this isn't just more signs of him being injury prone. Sticking with the offense, it was cool to see so much depth at receiver. 7 different receivers caught touchdown passes, which that's really cool to see, including some walk-ons, 2 transfers in Tariq Black. He got his first touchdown. And then Brennan Schuler from Oregon, or used to play at Oregon, Pac-12 guy. He had a couple of really long plays, 2 really cool, really good broken tackles. One of them on his long touchdown that happened, I believe, very early second quarter. So it was interesting to see a guy who's only been with the program for a few weeks get that much time early in the game. So Going to the run game, I thought the run blocking needs to improve a lot. There just seemed to be too much, masses of bodies at the line of scrimmage. There were some holes open up for sure, but I thought it was interesting that in the first 3 series for Texas, we saw Rashawn Johnson with the first series, Keontae Ingram with the second, and then Bijan Robinson in the third series. So I hope that's not kind of a sign of things to come. I would rather, give a guy time to warm up. Sometimes it takes a few runs to kind of get banged up and to get warmed up and get in the game. And then a good running back is going to get stronger as the game goes on. I thought all 3 guys showed what they can do. That they showed what they're best at. Rashawn Johnson looked really good in the downhill, tough, rumbling runner. Keontae Ingram had a couple of runs where he just used his moves and used his skills to gain an extra 5 yards. Both Johnson and Ingram, I believe, averaged about 4.8, 4.9 yards per carry. So their effectiveness was really neck and neck. Bijan, I think, once he gets his timing down with the blocking and the flow of the play, I thought there was a couple of times where he could have hit the open hole a little quicker. But man, he had the longest run of the 3 running backs. And it was I believe it was like a 30, 35 yard run. Made a guy miss in open field, which was really cool. And he just runs so fluidly. He doesn't look like he's, pounding it or trying hard. And I think that if any of the 3 showcase some kind of eye-popping ability, it was that one long run by Bijan Robinson. I also think he had 2 catches, so he touched the ball, I think maybe 7 times. So it was just cool to see him in there. And then Sam Ehlinger looked great. Thought he hesitated on a couple of passes and locked on a couple of times, but I think his throwing motion and quickness of getting the ball out of his hand looked as good as it's ever had. He looks like he's throwing the ball faster, and he's not doing that, kind of mechanical telegraphed delivery that we see him do a lot. So that's going to be awesome, especially how Mike Yurcich is trying to add some of these more nuanced route running, abilities and routes with faster guys like Jake Smith, Jordan, Tariq Black, and Josh Moore. So I think that's what we're going to see a lot of in this offense is up-tempo route running, get the ball out of your hands quickly, and let your receivers do what they do and get yards after the catch, which is going to be so huge for so long. We saw this team, Devin Duvernay was good at that, but I think overall, from a passing game standpoint, we've seen Texas just kind of, 8 yards, tackle. We need a first down, maybe we get it, but you get tackled. What we need to see are these guys get the ball in their hands and run, right? Get yards after the catch. So that's kind of what I'm assuming is what we saw kind of a sneak peek of, which is going to be awesome. And I mean, Sam set a record for him career passing yards, and it was all in the first half. He had 5 touchdowns in the first half to 5 different receivers. I think the tight ends are going to be a much bigger impact on this team than maybe what has been talked about up until this point. I mentioned it on the last video when we looked at the depth chart, but I think we saw that in Cade Brewer. He had a big gain for a first down, and then he scored on a touchdown a little bit later where Cade Brewer and Josh Moore were both wide open, and Sam chose Cade Brewer for the touchdown. So that was cool to see. So I hope we see these tight ends get involved in the game more And to me, they seem to be running routes downfield more, which was really cool. So if you can have these athletic big dudes, I mean, these tight ends are 6'4" to 6'6". If you can get these guys on a mismatch, in the middle of the field, but downfield more, holy crap, that's going to be awesome. I thought the right side of the offensive line is definitely kind of needs some work. I wouldn't be surprised to see some different bodies in there over the next 2 games. But overall, the pass blocking was I thought was great. Switching to the defense, my prediction for defensive player of the game before the game was DeMarvion Overshown, who's moving from defensive back to outside linebacker, and then Tom Herman at his press conference earlier today named Joseph Osai and Overshown as the 2 defensive players of the game. So we'll put that down as a win. But I thought he looked really good. There was one play early on where he just really threw his body in there and took on a block, a big lineman head on, came off the block and helped make the tackle on a 3rd down play. And man, if that's what we're going to get out of him, the ability to attack the line and fly around the field using that defensive back athleticism and speed, but with a bigger body, that's going to be awesome. Obviously, I think what Chris Ash is putting together is just more and more speed on the field. When you look at Joseph Osai, Overshown, and then, even David Gabenda got in there, Court Jacquez got in there with more playing time. Don't know what happened to Juwan Mitchell. If anybody knows, let me know. I don't ever remember seeing him play. I don't think he recorded a tackle. Didn't read or hear that he was hurt, but if anybody has anything on that, post in the comments below. But overall, Joseph Osai was great, led the team in tackles. I believe he had 8 tackles. I thought that the front down linemen didn't get a lot of penetration into the backfield, which is what I was looking for, but they really held the line of scrimmage. And then, of course, yes, UTEP is not a good team, but you at least want to see these players and units just execute, right? You don't want to see a bunch of penalties and sloppiness and missed tackles and defensive players out of position, not knowing their assignments, or receivers dropping passes all over the place. That's kind of what you see when a team is unprepared, or, my fear was ushering in new coordinators and a completely revamped coaching staff and missing all of the time in spring ball and the offseason on top of trying to bring in new coaches and new ideas and new relationships. I mean, that's a big deal. So, overall, I thought the defense looked really good. Man, Josh Thompson had a game at moving to cornerback. So I kind of thought the other cornerback spot was going to be Anthony Cook or Jalen Green, but wow, Josh Thompson looked great there. Had a pick, had an interception where it looked like the UTEP receiver might have been, didn't finish his route or something, but Josh Thompson recognized it, jumped up, intercepted it, and fell down. So he looked great. He left the game. It was announced, Tom Herman announced that somehow Thompson got a cut on his ear, like a bad cut on his ear that needed stitches. So he got stitches, so he should be fine. Don't know why that happened, but maybe his helmet moved and cut him or whatever. Deshaun Jameson looked good. Didn't see or notice a whole heck of a lot of Caden Stearns, but overall I thought the defensive backs were really good. Kenyatta Watson, Chris Adamora, we saw a lot of the depth, right? Tyler Owens got in there, so that was cool to see. Just more depth. Senior Chris Brown obviously is starting at the free safety spot. So I really like what Chris Ash, I think, is kind of trying to put together with this defense. Speed and disruption is kind of how I would describe it. So hopefully we see more penetration, more disruption from the guys like Keandre Coburn, T'Vondre Sweat, and Taquan Graham. the down linemen. Joseph Osai played on the line, like on the line more than I kind of thought he would, but still in a 2-point stance he was up. But he's absolutely that perfect hybrid linebacker. What else from that standpoint? So, overall, kind of from a team standpoint, just really happy to see the quick start, the up-tempo offense, and the ability to get second string, third string, walk-ons in there. We saw Casey Thompson, I think 2 of his 4 completions were for touchdowns. We saw some Hudson Card in there. He had a really cool little quick lateral throw off the cuff to Malcolm Epps, who had a pretty good gain down the sidelines. Malcolm Epps right now is kind of your third tight end. Hudson Card, your third quarterback. So just being able to see these guys get in there. It was cool to see Bijan Robinson get in so early in the game as opposed to waiting to see him. We saw him on the 3rd series. So obviously the coaches are confident in his ability. I think Ingram, going back to the running backs, I think Ingram is definitely the best pass blocker of the group. And maybe that just comes from experience. I mean, heck, Rashawn Johnson this time last year was moving from quarterback to running back. So now he finally has a full season under his belt. And, Rashawn is that type of, I think is that type of obviously all-around athlete who can be a jack of all trades, right? But you've still got to consider blocking, reading stunts and blitzes and things like that. So, hopefully that depth and strength is going to be there with the running backs, but I really, really hope that they try to establish the run more. It just kind of seemed like they were running the ball just because they were supposed to. It's like, oh yeah, we need to run the ball a little bit. I would rather see just pounding it down a defense's throat and actually establishing dominance in run blocking and then in running and let that open up the pass. I'm one of those guys who's in the camp of the run sets up the pass, not the other way around, especially if you're going to fake the handoff and do all that zone read type stuff. So, what else? Don't forget to drop your comments below. Would love to see what you thought about the game, surprises, disappointments. What were you expecting to see that you didn't? Another storyline that came out of the game, BJ Foster. The word was, Anwar Richardson from the Austin American Statesman reported that BJ Foster left the game and quit the team in the 3rd quarter because he was mad that he wasn't getting to play. So, it comes out today that yes, that did happen, but he's already come back, apologized to the coaches, and is fully prepared to do whatever he needs to do to get back, in kind of the good graces. BJ Foster is a former 5-star defensive back that came in with Caden Stearns and has a lot of starts. I mean, he's, aside from injuries, he's essentially been the starter at safety. Right now, Chris Brown has that role. We're going to need BJ Foster. We're going to need these, and even the younger guys with the depth at defensive back. Obviously, we saw it last year. That can happen in one game. You can have injuries that affect you for the next month. It's already happening at the H wide receiver spot. So yeah, we're gonna need a guy like him, and he should be a leader. He's a junior with a lot of starts and a lot of in-game snaps under his belt already, and we do still have a lot of young defensive backs like Adam Mora, like Kenyatta Watson, Tyler Owens, not even including the true freshman in the 2020 class. So anyway. Overall, it was great to see football back. Great start to the game. Did exactly what they needed to do. Put up a lot of points early. Got the young guys in there with some playing time. Hope the run blocking improves. More penetration on defense. But overall, I really, really like what we're seeing from a high-level strategy, scheme, personnel standpoint of route running, letting the receivers run with the ball in their hands, fast, high-flying defense. So, yeah, going to be interesting. Bye week next week, and then up to Lubbock to play the TTs, who beat Houston Baptist by 2 points. So that'll be an interesting game. We know they're going to sling it around the whole time and pass the ball the whole time. So anyway, guys, appreciate it. Appreciate the subscribers. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not, so you don't miss all the rest of them. TexasHornsFans.com for a lot more information, commentary. Link in the description. We have a full other review of the game, complete with stats, game highlights, all that type of stuff. So leave your comments below. We'd definitely love to hear from you. And thanks for stopping by. See you the next time. Welcome.